draft to the future. Yeah! Run the metrics, breaking down the tape now. See the vision of a future great now. Data-driven, film confirmed. That's the motto, lesson learned. Data-driven, film confirmed. Welcome to the show.
Hey everyone, welcome in to Draft to the Future. I'm Ryan, Matt there as always. We're really excited today. One thing that we've wanted to do for a while is talk with an NFL agent to try to get some insight into that side of the world and to potentially help parents and young players understand that role. And we finally found one that we think would be a good fit and seems to really care about helping develop young players. So without further ado, we've got Sampson.
Thank you. You know, if you guys put your names together, Matt Ryan, you get to play Matt Ryan.
Yeah, there we go. Like it.
We're Hall of Fame commentators over here.
Right. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me, guys.
Hey, no problem. First off, I want to start out with, we are both, veterans. He's Navy, I'm Air Force, and I saw that you're a veteran as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about your time in the Army?
Yeah, man. I tell every young man, if you're not going to go to NFL or at least pursue a career, try to join the military. That was probably one of the best investments I ever made. So I was in the Army. I was 92 Foxtrot. And for those that are not familiar, that's petroleum. And I did that for 5 years. I was deployed to Iraq, 15 months. I stationed in Germany, and then I was also stationed in Fort Lewis, and I decided to get out. And a lot of people always ridicule me for getting out because I had a really great career, but I'm a finance guy, so the time value of money just made better sense in my best interest to leave the military. It was a tough decision, but yeah, I did 5 years, and I really enjoyed my time. And I have a lot of good friends that I still communicate with, that I serve with as well.
Awesome.
So, with you making this transition, we were just wondering, is there any connection in the timeline between your time in service and becoming an agent?
As far as connection time, I know. Actually, I left the military in 2011, and I got licensed to practice as an agent in 2025. So it hasn't been a full year yet. So there's quite a bit of time gap between the two. So no correlation as far as time frame is concerned.
Yeah, I read your bio a little bit talking about your business, 7 principles, and some other business things that you've done throughout your time before becoming an agent. What led you exactly to becoming an agent? And I know you're with Forever Athlete Management, right?
Yeah. So, I wanted to change, man. I wanted to have like what I call my retirement gig. That's kind of look at it. And so, running 7 principles is a very complex organization to run. You're dealing with a very sensitive group of men and women, which are our military veterans, our warfighter perpetuity, which means I'm fighting the VA for, which both you guys serve, you understand exactly what that means, what it looks like. And so I was a raider in the VA in Washington, D.C., making the final determination on benefit claims. And so veterans or military members that are exiting the military, they would submit their benefits claim, and I make a decision of yes or no. And if it's yes, how much? If it's no, here's why not. And from that, I started helping NGOs and law firms develop disability claims, and then that exploded into 7 principles, what it is today. And I've been running that organization now for 13 years. I started it from zero, scaled it. We make, several $1 million a year in that one particular entity. And the NFL agency side was more so my way of, I wanted something different. I wanted to change, but I also wanted to be back into a very competitive environment. And in my environment, it's not really competitive. It's, you run your business, you take care of the veteran, you make sure he or she gets their benefits, and that's kind of it. There is no real competitiveness in the space. And I'm a true competitor. That's just me. And so I enjoy football, at least from a film watching standpoint. I can look at plays and tell you what's going to happen next for most times, depending on what kind of defense they're running, what kind of offense they're running. So I love football from that standpoint. And I wanted to find a way to get back into football, but I knew, one, I couldn't play, or I didn't want to play anymore. That's not going to happen for me. And I have made enough wealth to where working for a team was not going to be an option unless I come as a GM, which you don't just walk into a GM role. You have to kind of work your way into it. And so I asked God to give me a sign. And one day I was in the Commanders game in a booth, and a colleague of mine that also is with the front office with the Commanders said, "Hey, you should really think about being an agent. That's the only thing that really would fit your appetite of competitiveness It requires some capital up front. You're a businessman, you understand that. And it gives you an opportunity to be back with the players, but it also gives you the opportunity to be vetted, which you have to be vetted to be an agent. And of course, to get your license, the NFLPA is much like it's much like a top secret security clearance without the polygraph. That's pretty much what it's like to get an agent license. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And I thought it'd be a meaningful career. I feel like I could give a lot of great good to these guys. And, luckily for me, I've amassed enough wealth and make enough money per year to where I make the same kind of money some NFL players make, but I've been making it for 15 years now and will continue to make that kind of money. So it put me in a position where, one, I could be trusted, second, I could be vetted, and third, I could be around the sport of football.
So it's just awesome to see how you kind of progressed. I like seeing people, especially former service members, show that not only can you have a successful life, but you can prosper. And when you think about your role, from what we understand, agents are pretty much always working behind the scenes.
Yep.
Do you think you could talk us through how you would identify what is your role as an agent?
I would say, if I had to classify, my role is the support being for everything outside the white lines. So mom and dad, sister, brother, oops, baby mother, new baby mama, side woman, bills, apartments, home finding, decision-making, therapy sessions. I am the point of contact for all of that for my player. And a lot of people think that the NFL agency work is all glitz and glam and it's cool. And there is some glitz and glam to it. But a lot of the work is making sure that you're a really good representative for your client, for his best interest with the NFL teams. And more importantly, you're there as a support system for that player, especially for players that may not have a good family structure. A lot of guys come from what I would say to be broken homes. So being able to be that catalyst of support for them while they transition. And unfortunately, the NFL is not for long. They're going to get cut. They're going to get fired. They're going to get injured. It's going to happen. So how do you make sure you're covering down for your guys when things are not going so well? So for me, I am everything outside the white lines. My job is to make sure my player can focus on the sport of football and play at a very high level every single down, every single snap. And everything outside of that, I take care of. And there's things that my players never find out that I just take care of on their behalf. So that's what I would say to be my role in this business.
Sounds a lot like being an NCO in the military.
It's just like an NCO. Picture me as a platoon sergeant. I'm not even the first sergeant. I'm just the E7. I'm leading, 4 squad of men. It's 120 guys in my platoon. And it's my job to make sure that, one, they got their benefits up to par. They're not beating their wives. They're not, getting drunk too crazy on the weekends. And that they're staying in the line. And when things happen, I got to keep out of first sergeant's ear. That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
And first sergeant are the teams. Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest value that you personally bring to a player as an agent?
Experience, and experience just of life experience is probably number one. The second is connections. You need to have connections with NFL teams. Like the things I'll be able to pull off for my team, for my clients, were just based off of I was in the right place at the right time 3 years ago, and that favor came to fruition in current time. So having the connections, knowing how to understand schemes. I understand football from like an X and O standpoint. So there are times where you may get an opportunity, like me and Damian, we were discussing opportunities for one of our clients, Nathan Voorhees, he's with the Jets. And as he was brainstorming, as we were just discussing things, we're like, well, he will be a better player in this defensive scheme versus another defensive scheme because they probably going to employ him longer. So being able to understand how your particular client fits in different schemes, whether it's offense, defense, and just being 100% honest about, hey, this is where you really going to happen for you. If you get picked up by a team. So I think that, and then the fact of just understanding the sport of football. A lot of agents have never played football. That's no knock to them. You can still be a very successful agent in this business and never have played a down of football. But when you understand football, I actually watch tape with my clients. I actually sit and rewind, fast forward. I have a client right now I just talked to. Did you do workouts today? How was workouts? How are you stretching? Are you going to the chiropractor? So it's a little small things that you really, for me, that I bring to my clients that separates me, but I'm also someone that's very just genuine. That's just my personality. I've always been a giver. I'm not a taker. A lot of, unfortunately, what I understand is that a lot of agents get into this because they want to have some leverage in the business. You got access to a guy that's making league minimum this year is like a little shy of $1 million. Most, agents don't make that kind of money. And so for me, I want to build onto what you already have and kind of give you a scope of what's going to happen next because I've made that kind of money for quite some time. So it's also the money side, the money maturity side of understanding what this money means for you and your family and how you can preserve that wealth and help it grow. I'm not a wealth advisor, but I've built my wealth and I give a little bit of nuggets to my clients and refer them to someone that's NFLPA certified. So
Yeah, hey, Nathan Voorhees was one of my draft sleepers this year, so I'm glad he's getting a shot. So
yeah, he's with the Jets. He's doing amazing. I never forget when I first met Nathan. I was happy that he signed with us. So myself, Damian, and Jeff represent him on the SRA. There's a few other guys as well. I see you got Landon Robinson in the back. We had a shot with him. Damian brought him to the table as well. He ended up going with another agency, but Landon was another person that we really liked and really enjoyed. His mom's a super amazing woman, by the way. But yeah, we wish we could have got Landing as well. But Nathan, man, he's just a really, really solid kid, man. East Stroudsburg kid, and just he's always wanted to be a Jet. So I'm just happy to see his dreams come true,
Well, one of the steps on the journey to having your dreams come true is getting into college. And we're in this new era with the portal and with the NIL, and we're seeing more and more people. And one of my concerns is what I'm hearing on my end is whatever representation these young college athletes have, it's not NFL representation.
Yeah.
Can you speak to a minute for when should they be looking for an agent and why it's important that that agent is an NFL agent?
Yeah, great question. So I always answer this question with, if you ask yourself, should I need an agent? You probably need an agent. That's probably the time to get an agent. Because if you're asking yourself, should I have an agent? It's because there's been some type of material opportunity that's been, presented to you, and mostly around money. So I always advise parents that as soon as you have that question in your mind of should I have an agent, you probably should seek one. Now, to make sure the viewers understand this, you don't have to be NFL PA certified to represent players on the NIL side. There's no barriers as far as degree or licensure is required to be on the NIL side. But I am a big advocate for working with an agent that is NFL PA certified. Here's why. One, we have our credibility in the line. I have done deals with I've seen deals with other NIL agents, and they just blindly have their players sign deals. They don't have the proper structure as far as a tax advisor, a wealth manager, and an attorney to make sure that the deals are what they are and that they actually the client complies. So kids will find themselves in really tough situations because they never were advised. This is an 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, maybe 20, that wants to come play the sport of football. They don't care about the black and white language. They're getting paid some money to play football. That's how they see it. But as their agent, it's our duty and it's our fiduciary responsibility to communicate to our client of these are the pitfalls. This is what you must adhere to if you go forward with this deal. And here's how I'm going to guide you and hold your hand through it so you can just focus on the sport of football. So I encourage parents to definitely work with NFLPA licensed agents because one, I'm not going to mess up my goodwill and my good name because I didn't manage a deal properly. And secondly, just being very transparent, I have interest in the deal because I want to get you sent to the NFL. That's where the real opportunity lies. Even though they make more money in NIL in some cases, who wants to be an NIL hero? You want to be an NFL legend, not an NIL legend. So, I mean, at least if you care about the name on the back of your jersey. So, and then more importantly, you also get someone that's competent on the lay of language when it comes down to contracts and breaches and so forth. And for me, I can't speak for other agencies, but for my agency, we actually have a sliding scale on our fees. There's a lot of NIL agents that charge upwards of 30% or even more. We charge pretty much what the NFL would charge. So, not only are we giving a very competitive rate, we're also giving a very high caliber of quality of service too.
Do you think, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but putting it this way, there were two very famous NIL transfer portal related issues that involved litigation and even settlements. Yep. How would an NFL agent have helped a player and a team avoid the potential of that? Like on the player's end, maybe he wants to keep his options open in future years, but how would you have advised them to give them that flexibility so they don't have this headache now?
Yeah, so actually creating what I call expectations of communicating that. And then more importantly, what I think is also very important that some agents may not do is you have to include the entire family. So when I speak with my clients, the entire family's on the call. Nothing is missed. Only thing I do not disclose are things that I think would be personal to my client that, man to man, we can talk about offline because we got mom on the phone, we got auntie sometimes, we got a little sister from time to time, dad's popping in, family is different. And so there are certain things that my player may feel as sensitive. And I know that about my client because I'm tapping to my client that I keep between he and I. And there's other things that the family should know. So the first thing is proper acknowledgement of the terms and the expectation of those terms. A lot of times that's not communicated. My point I made earlier, a lot of agents don't look at the terms, or they may not have an attorney on staff to educate them on the pitfalls, and thereby they let their client sign blindly. And when their client have a change of heart, that change of heart comes with liquidated damages. That's what it's typically called. And so, because there's a breach. So one, set an expectation, but more importantly, advise your client on if you want to transfer schools and go from one school to another, here's what your opportunity is. That depth chart is very big. You're not going to get much playing time. So you're actually losing on playing time and opportunity. And you're going to be in default with this current school because in section 14 of your agreement, it states that if you transfer before this date, which is when the transfer portal probably opens or closed, you're going to be in default and thereby cause liquidated damages as a penalty for transferring. So it's really just disclosing to the client. And, when you have folks, in my opinion, that are not NFLPA regulated NFL agents, they don't really have anything to govern them to say that they've done wrong. A lot of them don't even know what E&O insurance is. So even when they do make a material, defect or a material claim that causes damages, you still can't really punish the NI agent, at least not legally. So, understanding those little aspects of what the contract says and how to actually prepare yourself and move forward is where I say the difference lie between those non-licensed versus us as NFLPA licensed.
One last portal NIL question, Ryan. Thank you for being patient with me. I've been kind of doing an unofficial poll in all of my interviews with college athletes, and the agent perspective is intriguing to me. Ryan has a young child, and he already says he wants to play for Cincinnati, and we've been talking about it. And if our kids were to grow up, would you advise a athlete to go to where you're going to get on the field, even if the NIL is not where it is, get on the field and then later transfer, or go to a place and sit on the bench, and see how that goes? It sounds like negative, but like, let's say you got an order from FCS school X and an offer from Georgia, but you're sitting behind a redshirt junior and a redshirt sophomore. How would you advise that player?
So me personally, I'll be frank with you. I got a lot of dog in me. I'm going to Georgia. I'm going to Georgia because I feel like I have enough dog in me to compete and win that winning job. And if you look at players that have been drafted from schools like Georgia and Alabama and Florida, there's been backups drafted in high rounds that did very well as a backup. So I'm a proponent. I know people are going to kill me in the comments for this. I'm a big proponent for going to a bigger school and being a dog and earning a spot. And even if you don't earn the number one job, maybe you're number 1B and you can get some playing time. But, as a caveat to that, special teams can get you in the NFL. You can get in the NFL for being a special teams demon, for real. So, I'd rather go to a big school, improve myself, than going to a big school, a smaller school and being a bigger fish. And the reason why is as soon as we get a kid, I'm just giving you honest what happens in practice. Whenever we get a recruit that we like, okay, they went to a small school. What school do they play? If they went to an FCS school, did they play anybody in the SEC? Did they play an ACC school? And how do they do against that talent? Because we know the NFL is fishing from that pool of talent. So if we got a kid that, let's say, for instance, went to Jackson State, and Jackson State ends up playing University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and we see this edge guy or this offensive lineman had a marvelous game, that translates because a lot of those guys going to the next level are from those schools. And so I would be a proponent for going to a school, competing your behind off, winning that starting job, and then escalate into the NFL. Because if you win the starting job, your bag's gonna be bigger anyways. So you lost 2 years of money sitting as a backup, but year 3 and year 4, you made a significant amount of income, and then you go to NFL.
Yeah. So now let's say, you're that young player looking for their first agent, or maybe you're a parent trying to help your kid find their first agent. You kind of answered this a little bit, I think, but what are the most important things that they should be looking for?
I always tell folks like anything. I'm a real estate developer too, so I always get more than one quote. I rule of three quotes. So talk to three agents, and from three agents, let your gut kind of follow where you want to where it should be. A lot of this business is we're going to be saying the same thing in our pitches: who we know, who we have access to, who we've put in the NFL before, blah 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 blah. But you also will see there's eight. I have kids right now in my DMs that are with bigger agencies that are begging for me to represent them. Why is that the case? I don't know. I think we all know why. It's because of the detention and because of the ability to actually build rapport. So I tell parents, go with your spirit. A lot of time, I'm a spiritual man. I hate to talk about Christ, but a lot of time Christ kind of leads my decisions in some regard. So that helps me make decisions. But for parents specifically, one, are they licensed? Secondly, you want to look at how they communicate with you and what questions they ask you. We want to know who, what, when, where, and how. That's how I determine whether I want to work with this person or not. And then the conversation should be about the family and the family's needs, not about mine and what I've done. Even though I'm going to sprinkle that in there, it's always about the client. What does the client needs are? Because if I am on the call and only talk about myself the entire time, I'll learn nothing about you. How can I properly be your best representative? That's kind of how I look at it. And so, but a lot of it for me, I don't really have a real rubric that I go by or I advise people to go by. A lot of it is pick three that you like, interview them, and go with the best one you feel your gut is telling you to go with. That's kind of how I would advise it.
So now moving on towards the draft, right? You know, we've had a great college career. We're getting ready for the draft. Can you kind of walk us through the process a little bit, guiding a prospect through the draft from like the end of the college season all the way until the draft hits, and you could even talk us through potentially a particular prospect if you want.
Yeah. So, the first thing that I look at is what's the comparables? And that's a more of a real estate terms, but this player at the height and the weight and the speed that he's at, how does he compare to someone else? And that's how I pitch the client. And so I may pitch I'm always gonna pick for a first round draft pick because I'm always trying to go first round, right? Even though I know my client won't get with this past draft season, I knew none of my clients were ever gonna be first round picks. I knew that for sure, but I knew they would have they have an opportunity to get on the 50-man roster or at least get an opportunity to go to rookie minicamp. So I always pitch them as the highest I possibly can pitch them and say, hey, you drafted so-and-so in this round. I look at every team, who they draft. I actually built a SaaS system using Claude, which is a whole nother conversation. But I built a SaaS system using Claude or a database using Claude, and it allows me to pick draft picks from the last 5 years, and I put it in my client's information, height, weight, speed, position, school, and then it gives me a comparison. And it does all the work for me. And all I do is make sure there's no errors. It is AI, there could be errors. And so I then pitch the client of this is what they look like for your team. The Bengals picked so-and-so in this round of the draft. This client is just like that. Here's why. Here's his explosiveness. Here's his character and so forth. So I pitched that to the teams. And then I pitched to my client something totally different. I tried to under-promise and over-deliver for my client. And so if I have a client, like when we was dealing with Nathan Voorhees, and I'm glad we had this practice, we all felt Nathan should be fifth round pick. We felt he should be fifth, seventh, no later, no fifth or sixth, and definitely not late seventh, right? He ended up going UDFA. This was a really weird draft. And I learned a lot from Damian and Jeff in this process, but it's a really weird draft. And so he ended up going late into the draft. I mean, he went undrafted free agent, but he still got an opportunity. Had we, postured him, say, hey, you a fifth round guy. That's what we were talking about in our conversation. Like we can go fifth round, but we never really sold him on that. And that made the relationship a lot better. So one, being able to under promise and over deliver to your client, and then being real about where they are as far as their height, weight, and speed. And that's going to be a big factor for them to get to the NFL is their height, weight, and speed, and their character, of course, as well. And so I advise my clients on one, I pitch the NFL, the highest and best pick I can possibly find that's comparable. Two, under promise and over deliver to my client. And then the last part is really just training and lodging. It's training, lodging, and meal prepping. Make sure they're eating properly, making sure they're not getting into any trouble. Like a private, making sure that E2, E3 is just groomed well and to be a good E4. That's kind of what it's like. And so that's really my steps to the process. And then after that, it's just constant negotiating with teams. Then there's a quiet period for about a month or two where there's nothing being said or exchanged between us and the teams. And then the combine and pro day happens. And when that happens, it starts to spark up again. It gets quiet. Then the draft sparks up again. Then it gets quiet. Like right now, it's kind of quiet. Guys are getting. I had a couple guys make it. A couple guys get cut. So that's kind of where we are. I hope I answered your question.
So the last question we have prepared.
Yeah.
Do you or your agents, we're walking up to the combine and we're seeing a lot of interesting decisions being made in regard to what workouts they do and when they do those workouts. Do you or agents in general play a role in advising a player on what events to participate in, whether it's an all-star or combine testing or a pro day, and what leads you to make what recommendations?
Yes, typically because of how can I say this? Yes, we do have a really big role in advising our clients on what events to participate in or not. And a lot of times it can be due to factors such as potential injuries in the future from running a 40. It could be that they may not clock as well in certain events, which may hurt their draft stock. And sometimes it just can be that the player we already know is going to be a high draft pick. So it's like, screw it, why do it? But I have not personally advised a client to not participate in a drill. I haven't had the fortune to have a client that was actually invited to a combine. I've been around the combine environment. I've been at 2 combines now, and I've been on other agents that have done that. But what I have seen just from my external experience with other agents dealing with this kind of thing is mostly due to the potential of injury, which hurts their ability to be drafted. They still have to go through a pre-employment check and a physical as well. If you don't want your client to get drafted and fail the physical, then it's like all is kind of lost because they ran a 40 and ran too hard. And even though they ran a 4.3 or 4.4, they came out with a torn hamstring. So a lot of it is to prevent injury. A lot of it is because the guys are just that good. There are guys that have been drafted this draft year, the next draft year, and past drafts that are just that good. They don't need to do anything because they've already proved themselves and they know they're going first round. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. If I had to answer the question from me, what would the future Chaz Sampson do? I definitely would protect my client because injuries are a big part of this business. You're going to go through at least once or twice, especially at the professional level. So I definitely would, advise my client that if there's any type of future potential injury that could happen from being involved in an event, then to forego it, especially if their draft cycle is high enough. That's what the future Chaz Sampson would do. And I think you probably would see that out of me the next draft cycle because I've got a better grasp on the business and how to recruit players. But more importantly, I definitely would advise them if it's going to cause injury, to not do it.
Well, yeah, we want to be respectful of your time, and we really do thank you for coming on with us today. But
Yeah.
lastly, to finish up, let's say a player is ready to make that decision, and they're looking and they see this video. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, most people hit me via Instagram. My Instagram is chas.sampson. That's chas.sampson. Or they can call me directly. My direct line is 202-742-4597.
All right, Chaz. Well, we thank you so much and appreciate your time. And good luck enjoying this little bit of downtime before you get into the next season.
Yes, sir. Thank you as well for having me,
Thank you
guys.
so much, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers.